Oh, it's okay. It's live. Welcome to the Fairy Crossing.
Where the whispers of the Fae reveal their secrets. I'm Summer. I'm from AstariaSen, and we are over on Star's channel. She's hosting me. We decided that it would be much better for our viewers to try to do it on a single channel. And for those who don't know me, I work with the Fae as a spiritual practice, and I actually have a whole Samhain thing that I do with my Fae spirituality, and that's part of what we'll be talking about today.
And I'm sure you know me, but hi, I'm the Wild Witch. I'm Star, and I work with the Fae through the lens of a Wild Witch. Um, and I'll be sharing like how I work with them within my witchcraft. So we have a lot planned for you today. And this is our little Samhain special spooky episode.
Not sure how spooky it'll really be.
Well, I mean, it's a vibe.
Totally a vibe.
That's what matters. So, Samhain is a time, like a liminal time, where the veil is thin, right? And where the Fae are more noticeable, they're more prevalent.
Well, they
And
have the liminal space is a
mhm,
betwixt, a between, which that's where you tend to find the phase in the betwixt and the between.
right.
Hi, Debbie.
Oh, hello, Debbie. Welcome.
Do you? That brings me to a question, though, Star.
What's up?
Do you feel the Fae in betwixt and between places, like when you work with them?
You know, um, spaces, not so much. Like, I feel them more during like liminal times, if that makes sense, like dawn and dusk,
Hmm.
especially. Um, but like, I do feel them at liminal times more, like Samhain and Beltane. How about you?
So for me, I agree with you. The time frame seems to be really important, more so than the place. Though
Mhm.
I will admit, there has been many times where I have been out here on the prairie and we've come across like thresholds, I guess, where there's like, because out here we have rock formations, okay? We have different kinds of rock formations, which you guys have probably seen in a lot of my pictures if you followed any of my homestead life.
Mhm.
But those rock formations come together and there's this like area where you can walk through, drive through, stuff like that. So we have these threshold areas, and there's one area out here. And I mean, there's a lot of different rock thresholds out here, but there's only one that really gives me that like Fey vibe where I've actually asked permission to enter because I felt I had to, that I should. And it was kind of crazy. I've never really like come across that energy too much.
Was it like a kind of like a portal situation, you
I don't
think?
know if that it was portal necessarily. It was just more like a wild place
Mhm.
and more like a lot of I felt like there was wilder fae that were protecting the area, not so much that it was a portal.
That
My
makes
dog
sense.
is bumping my table. Hi, Michelle.
Oh, Rochelle, hello. And now that you mention it, like I have kind of noticed them. Like there's this nature reserve, and there's like a path between trees, and then there's like that flower path that was in one of my videos. Um, and when you're in between these like hedges, I feel them. Um, I was trying to think of specific examples of like places, right? And I couldn't until you mentioned your liminal spaces. Um, how about you guys in the audience? I'd love to know
Oh,
what
and
you would
Rochelle,
like.
you'll be happy to know that there will be a tidbits of Seelie and Unseelie court in this episode.
Yes,
Not
ma'am.
like deep dive, but tidbits. And it was by accident. We did not mean to do that.
It just worked out that way.
It did. It did.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you about like Samhain. So why do you think, aside from the liminality aspect, why do you think that the Fae are more prevalent around this time?
I think it's because we're looking for them.
Mhm.
Me and you have touched base on this before, but
Yes.
you're whatever you bring awareness to yourself, to whatever you are doing, right? Whether you're looking for the color purple, and purple's the
Mhm.
only one you see, even though there's 20 other colors there, right? I think that during Samhain and other times like Beltane and stuff like that, we look for them a lot more. So we are more apt to see them or hear them
Mhm.
or experience them.
Do you think do you think they're less active during other times? Or do
No,
you think that's us, our perception?
right. I would go with our perception.
Mhm.
Exactly. Because our perception is like the key to everything that's going on in our world,
Mhm.
like the key to everything. And I don't think the Fae are less active just because we aren't looking for them.
Right.
I still think they're active, but we've kind of shut ourselves. There's this idea of an open and a closed, right? Of
Mhm.
our awareness, our whatever we feel, whatever we experience. And when we shut ourselves off because, oh, well, we're not going to see them past this time because they're not that prevalent, then you're literally shutting the door right
That's
there.
that's a limitation.
Exactly. You're putting a limitation on yourself. Your body is an entire receptor, which I've talked about before. And if you turn that receptor off, you're not going to experience anything for the rest
Yep.
of the year because why would you? You've just
Right.
said I'm not going to. So you've already convinced yourself you won't.
Mhm.
Debbie says, I have a couple of patches of fern mine usually hang out in. Oh, so do you have to ask permission to hang out with them, Debbie, in your fern patches?
Oh,
I don't have fern patches out here. I
I
have
would
sagebrush.
love I would love a fern. Oh my god. I bet they hide under your sagebrush though, you know?
I don't doubt that. I do think that there's probably some areas where the sagebrush is really thick, and they probably do. There's weird trees out here, like pine trees and stuff that grows out of rocks out
Whoa.
here. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But that's just the
Wow.
landscape out here. Debbie says she asks before she walks into them. Yes. It's
That's
one of those threshold places, like it's private
mhm.
to them. Yeah. So what do
It's
you
like
think? Do
someone
you
walking into your
actually,
house.
right?
What
So
were you saying?
do you actually feel the same way? Like, do you feel like you turn yourself off the rest of the year?
Honestly, I think I used to because well, maybe I still did, but like I don't want to anymore. You know what I mean? Cuz like ever since starting my witchcraft practice, I subscribe to, oh yeah, the Fae, the spirits, they're active during Samhain and Beltane, and I would be open to interactions afterward or between those times, but and I have had them, not just during like Samhain and honestly, I tend to have interactions with them that aren't those times. Thinking back on it,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Do you have a specific time frame that seems to stand out to you then rather than
summer,
summertime?
summertime. That's
I could
usually
see that.
when I notice them more. So it's interesting because I was prescribed to the whole like liminal time situation, like, Samhain and Beltane. So my experiences proved me wrong. You know what I mean? I guess. I don't know if that
No,
makes any sense.
that does make sense. It's your own personal gnosis. It's how you've worked with the things that you work with, whether it be
Yeah.
fae spirits or otherwise.
It's because of you actually that like I shifted my mindset about the whole Samhain Beltane thing. really. You had influence over me, and like I don't want to I don't want to prescribe to that anymore. I want to be open. I don't want to limit myself. Witchcraft, like magic has no limitations.
Yeah. Hi, witchy best
So,
friend.
hey, Jess, what's your best friend? Um, yeah, it's interesting.
I think I
So,
used to subscribe to that liminal space too, especially when I first started out. I think that's one of the things that happens. We get caught up in what somebody else tells us we should be doing.
and then you have to unlearn.
Yes, you do. You have to unlearn. Debbie
Hmm.
says, I feel them more when I'm out gardening, really. The time of the year didn't really matter. Ever since summer's Fae month, I've noticed them more this summer. Very cool.
That's
That's
interesting.
awesome, Debbie.
See,
But
like,
I think personal gnosis goes a long way. Me and Rochelle have talked at length about personal gnosis even.
hmm,
And in the beginning, when you're just learning about all of this stuff, you don't have any of your own personal gnosis. You're going off everybody else's personal gnosis
right,
because you're
right.
trying to get your own personal gnosis.
That's the whole part of developing personal practice and personal beliefs, you know what I mean? Like what someone says in a book doesn't always have to resonate and work for you,
Right. And it may not. And some people think that's a failure on their part just because they
right?
didn't experience that way or they didn't, it didn't come the way that the book said it should.
Mhm.
But we're all individuals, so I don't expect that it would be the exact same. Rochelle
I
says, my
agree.
mom is staying the night and her dog is here also tonight. So we have doggy adventures.
Oh, I love
Oh, that's
that.
fun.
I love that, Rochelle.
I hope your mom is doing well.
I hope so too. Um, so sorry, I'm so
We got off
like
track on dogs.
yeah, now my mind's on dogs.
Technically, that's not off track because, I mean, there's hounds and something you wanted to talk about.
There is. So, we could dive into that. I don't know, I'm really nervous to dive into that. Um, so we were talking about featuring for this episode the wild hunt since it can correlate to Samhain, right? But also different times. So in the wild hunt, there are often hounds and horses, and they're mostly black. I guess we're getting into a little bit of story time here. Um, there are. Do we want to dive into this now,
We don't have
or
to dive into it fully, like
okay,
just
okay,
whatever you're comfortable with, because that's the truth is that that's something you wanted to explore.
yeah, I started.
So it's just a start to an exploration. You don't have to dive into anything.
All right. Well, I have a little story of the wild hunt for you all. So, there's different versions of the wild hunt depending on what cultural context you're looking at. There's so many different versions out there, as we had discussed, and different, depending on what version you're looking at, there is a different, like, hunter that's leading the wild hunt. And in Germanic cultures, it's led by Odin, and it's not called the Wild Hunt. It was often called Odin's Hunt or Woden's Hunt. With the Welsh, the hunt was led by Gwenapnod, and in England, it was Herne the Hunter. In France, it was Harlequin. Scotland, it was the Unseelie Court. And in America, it's um, the Ghost Riders. But it's so interesting how these like stories have adapted over time, but one thing that signals the wild hunt is like the sound of hooves and howls from the hounds and horns, and like basically they're going through the sky, through the storms, and you said it's starting to storm there?
It is.
So that's very apt. That's
Bye,
very
Michelle. Well, I have a question for you because I haven't really done a lot of research on the wild hunt, which you know, like,
this is base level
yeah.
skimming that I've done, but
Um, what what is the wild hunt for you? Like, I know we talked originally, you thought it was specific to Samhain, but we learned
mhm,
it's not specific
right.
necessarily to Samhain, right? So, what is what's the purpose of it? Like, why?
The purpose of the wild hunt was to collect lost souls. It was also to punish wrongdoers, which is interesting. Watch out. Um, and yeah, those souls would join the wild hunt.
So, do you think that's why it might attribute to Samhain is because All Souls
I
Eve and
would
stuff like that?
correlate it. I would definitely correlate it to Samhain because of like this ghostly soul situation. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
definitely the darker half of the year because there was a lot of death, there was a lot of misfortune, a lot of like storms, since the wild hunt is related to storms, those things often bring death and misfortune, especially back then. And it makes sense that like the spirits, like how it's related to Samhain and around this time. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand what you're talking about. It kind of reminds me of the Tower card, though. Like, if you think about it, like this idea of something being upended.
Mm,
That's what it reminds me of, is the Tower card.
I could
I
see
don't know
that.
why, but it does.
Has any tarot decks had the Wild Hunt as the tower?
I don't honestly know.
That would be interesting.
I don't think any of mine technically do, but I mean, if there is one out there, let us know. But I haven't,
Yeah,
I don't think I've specifically come across any that have the Wild Hunt as like the outside force in bringing down the tower, but that would be interesting. It's funny that the Wild Hunt is part of the Unseelie Court, right?
it is.
Have you researched much on the Unseelie Court?
No, I have not. That's not like a topic that has like pulled me too much, you know what I mean? Um,
Right.
you have the two halves of the year, right? The lighter half of the year you often associate with the Seelie, and the
Mhm.
darker half of the year, which we're going towards, is associated with the Unseelie.
Which is maybe why the Wild Hunt is associated with the Unseelie.
I would assume so. I haven't dug too deep into it. I was just reading off of my notes that I took. But your your little not little, but like your story that you wanted to share
Oh,
about the
about
Fae
the
during
true.
this time relates to
Yes.
the Seelie, right?
It does, which is really interesting. So, one of the things that I tend to work with during Samhain this season is trooping Fae. I don't actually work with them, okay? I acknowledge them, all right? Because they are not necessarily friendly or unfriendly, but they're not Fae that I have a connection to. I have not built a relationship with trooping Fae. And if you go by Brian Frow, that's fairy raids, right? It's this
Hmm.
wandering collective fae beings, a bunch of them that just wander all over the place. They travel from one place to the other in this great big procession. And they usually have these, that are all done up in their attire and they have these nice horses. And it's usually like associated with aristocracy and stuff like that. And actually, um, Yates, sorry, not Yeats. I always want to say Yeats. But William Yates, he actually said he originally is the one I think that came up with the trooping fae idea because in his book he talked about the fae that were solitary and then the fae as the trooping in order to associate the differences between a solitary fairy and a group fairy idea because there are two associations because even if you go back into the folklore and stuff like that people would often hear fairies in a group doing things, right?
Mhm.
Or they would see fairies traveling and then they would end up traveling with them and be caught up in however long of time that they ended up being caught up in. Um, so he actually differentiated those two aspects. But the fairy raids that Brian Froud talks about in his books is kind of the same as the Trooping Fae because it's a procession of the aristocracy, the higher kind of beings. And that's where you get Unseelie and Seelie too, because the Seelie is technically more the aristocratic, I believe, version of the courts, where the Unseelie is not. And then
Mhm.
there's that often people often do like good fairy, bad fairy kind of thing. But that's not necessarily true because Seelie can have harmful intentions just as much as any other.
Mhm.
And just because they're trooping Fae doesn't mean they're nice Fae. Most of them in stories and stuff like that are pretty mischievous and kind of tormenty because they catch you up in what they're doing. You know what I mean? You get caught up in what they're doing and now you're stuck with them. Um, so you don't really want to be caught up in them. So I don't work with them in the aspect of like that. My my version of trooping Fae, because I feel like they do consistently travel, right? But the only time I actually leave offerings are during the very active liminal times like Samhain and Beltane. And that's due to the protection I put out on my land and on my home. You know what I mean? So it's not just like protection from bad fairies or something like that. It's protection from anything. And so I just incorporate the trooping fae interaction with that.
Is there a reason you choose to leave the offerings at the more liminal time?
Uh, because I'm more aware of them and I feel like they're more aware of me because of that. you know? So it's like in the past videos and stuff like that I've done is they're not why would they acknowledge you if you don't acknowledge them, right?
Right.
Like there's this whole concept of a fair energy exchange, a relationship that you're building. I don't necessarily want a relationship with a trooping fae, but there are protections that's often talked about in the folklore, right? To appease, right? Appease more mischievous fae from doing things you may not want them to do. So my offering during that liminal time, because I feel like I'd be more open to their mischievousness, I would be more open to a lot of the stuff they could do. It's my offering of appeasement.
Okay. That makes sense. And a little relating to this topic, the question I have is like, do you think that like as a collective, people like us associate these times with the Fae? So do you think that could lead to them being more active too?
I think it's possible. I mean, like I just said, if you are willing to acknowledge something, right?
Mhm.
That makes it a little bit more prevalent. And they say that with a lot of different things, whether it be a ghost, right? Or,
Right.
a person, or I mean, there's a lot of different things that becomes associated with. When you give
Yeah.
something your attention, suddenly it notices you back.
I was just thinking, like, the more collective mindset people
Yeah,
have, the more power that might give them too.
exactly. Like you got that idea like during Samhain. I mean, so many people believe that you'll see the Fae during this time or during
Mhm.
Beltane. And so I could see that as a collective, as a like almost like a spell, right?
Mhm.
Like you're actively engaging in without even, I don't know, maybe you're not even aware that you're actively engaging in that kind of spell work, but I could see that.
Yeah, kind of like an egregoric energy sort of situation.
Yeah.
Um, and I could definitely see the need to appease them more during those times, because the more energy collectively that people might be giving them, the more mischief they might be prone to making.
I could see that.
Yeah, yeah. So, sorry, it took me a little bit to correlate my words to my thoughts. Like sometimes
Yeah.
it takes me a minute, but I knew there was like a connection that I made. So I was like, oh,
And see that connection can even go into the wild hunt as we were talking about before we
Mhm.
started the video. because
Right.
the wild hunt, if it's Fae, right? Because you were talking about it being different in different cultures, right?
Right.
So in Welsh, as I'm reading this book right now, which is Welsh Fairies, and it's a brand new book out this last year
Is
from
that by
Llewellyn.
Mara Starling?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's who it's by. And she lives in the Welsh country, and
Mhm.
she did this whole book on it, and she was talking about the wild hunt. And she talks a little bit about the Seelie and Unseelie courts and stuff like that. And if you're pulling something like trooping Fae into it, right? They are a group of Fae. The wild hunt would technically be a group of Fae. Now, the
Mhm.
trooping Fae fall under the Seelie court, even though they can be not so nice. And the wild hunt would follow on
Unseelie.
the Unseelie, even though their job, right, is just to round up lost souls or to bring in the dead or whatever it is they're
Right.
doing different culturally, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? That's
Right.
not necessarily a bad thing. But they could be a form of trooping fae in that sense, even though they aren't actually lumped into a trooping fae category.
That's so interesting that like overlap there.
Debbie says, I have offerings often out on a yard altar just to keep them happy and nice. Yes.
Aw.
That's
I love
very
that.
common practice, actually, in a lot of folklore and a lot of older villages and stuff like that, to leave um, milk and such out so that you appease whoever might be out there, especially like including in the wild hunt. I was reading, I think, in this book, where if you, I think it was this book, it might have been a different book, but where if you wanted to watch the procession, right, you wanted to watch it, you would leave milk on your doorstep to appease them, but you wouldn't leave your house. You would watch out the window.
Yeah, I absolutely do not. Absolutely not. No, ma'am. I do not want to watch that. Heck
Scare
no.
you?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm curious. What is the fear around that?
Um, I don't know why, but like if I heard a hunting horn or something, I'm running for the freaking hills. There is something so chilling about the sound of a hunting horn
Hmm.
that it's like primal fear within me, like instinctual, like book it, like get out.
Wow.
Absolutely not. I do not like that.
Wow.
Um, it and like the sound of horse, like the sounds. I'm a very auditorily sensitive person, and certain sounds have a different resonance, and I do not play when it comes to hunt. I'm gonna stay inside. I'm gonna bar my doors. You can imagine, like heck no, I don't want to watch that.
So
Oh,
so does that mean you leave? You leave milk out?
I don't want to watch it. Um,
Well, no, just it's the milk is for protection. You would stay in your house and watch it. But if you didn't leave the milk out, then the idea, my assumption, is that that wouldn't be appeasement.
see now, if I left milk out, this is where my brain goes. Would they be coming to my door? Because I do not want that. No.
I feel the same way about the trooping fae. When I leave my offering to the trooping fae, it's not outside my door. It's the threshold of my property, like the gate area where the
Mhm.
gate open and closes. That's where I leave it.
Yeah, I have this like corner like collective tree that like different, let's see, there's three different properties, like we co-share this tree, I think. I leave mine there. It's like way in the way in the corner. I'm not messing with that.
Debbie says, milk, honey, bread. Today was apples, sometimes oats too. They take right away. Yep.
I love that.
You
I
have a
love that.
really good working relationship with your land, Faye, Debbie. And I think
She
they're
does.
spirits and Faye, right? Like both. You work both land spirits and Faye that are there, if I remember right.
Yeah, some
It's been a minute
people
since I've talked to Debbie about it.
some people don't consider land spirits to be fae. Some people like me, I consider them one and the same. So,
Yes, that is one of the interesting topics I talked about on my Patreon, actually.
oh, her
Yeah,
link is down below if y'all haven't checked out her Patreon. I left it there.
but the yeah. So there's uh I just had it in my head.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. What were we talking about?
We were talking about your Patreon.
Oh, right before that. Right before that. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
It's
Was it
just escaped
offerings?
us.
It was it no, it wasn't
No.
offerings.
We had just talked about offerings.
Oh my God, guys, what was it?
Oh, land spirits. That's what we
Land
were talking
spirits.
about, and how
Yeah.
they're not fae or they are fae. So I touched base on that in in one of my Patreon posts. And it's the idea that way back they didn't know what to call them. Fairy wasn't always what they were called.
Mhm.
So I have that brings me to a question for you, Star,
What's up?
especially on your like witchy side, because I do assume that you work with many different kinds of beings, not just a
Mhm.
singular being like fae, right?
Right.
So, how do you know it's a fae and not ghost during this time?
That is interesting. So now my perception is different from back then. So I guess I would have a little bit of a different answer for you now as opposed to like last year. Um, but last like times past, I never correlated Fae with ghosts. I thought they were just two separate entities. This year, I've learned that I think it was from you. It had to have, but yeah, it was from you that like the Fae and ghosts were like inseparable because but how do I discern that? It just I always thought that ghosts were ghosts and Fae were Fae.
Okay, so maybe I should rephrase my question really quick.
Okay.
What feels different about them? Like, how do you know you're working with a fairy and not working with a ghost?
Ghost feels more human.
Okay.
Like it feels like it has more of like a humanity presence to it, like a person. And the Fae feel I want to say like less relatable,
Okay. So
less
more set back from
less
things.
human. Yeah, it's so hard to explain.
Will is here. Hi, Will.
Hi, Will.
I
Welcome.
love to get freshly churned butter from the farmer's market and set dollops of them at the corners of my property. Oh,
Oh, that's nice.
I wonder. Oh, here comes the snow, rain snow. I
See,
wonder why the four corners? Like, is that a protection thing, or is that just the way you do it?
some people associate different Fae with the different corners. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah,
Like
I could
north,
see
south,
that.
east, and west.
Earth, yeah, earth, air, wind, and fire too, because
Mhm.
that's a thing.
Mhm.
Will says to me, ghosts are of this realm and fae are of the other realms. See, I actually feel different energies, but I work energy based, right? Um, so for me, ghosts are scary. I literally get chills. I get creep factor. It doesn't matter what kind of ghost, okay? It doesn't matter if they mean me harm or don't mean me harm. Like there's chills, there's an ick factor that I get in the pit of my stomach. With a
Oh.
fae, I don't get any of that. I smell flowers. I nature stuff. You know what I mean? Like the rain. I might be working with something, and even if it's not raining, I might get a whiff of the rain.
Mhm.
And like my brownie, sometimes I get a whiff of sagebrush inside the house, and you could technically attribute that to the sage that I burn in my house. But even when I don't, I will still sometimes when I'm doing things, I will get this whiff of sagebrush that I don't know. I just attribute it to my brownies and the fae that I work with around here. So the energy feels actively different to me, not just other whether or not they're in the other world or this world, or whether they're human or whether they're fae, but the specific energy and the way it feels as it comes to me. Because like I said, my body's this big receptor, right? We recept
Mhm.
everything. Everything is thrown at us, and our skin is like this biggest receptor of all. So all of these energies being shoved at you, and I can feel the differences in those energies, sometimes to a degree that I don't like it.
And you feel each type of fae differently.
um, Mostly yes. Like my brownie
Mhm.
feels different than the fae that are in my garden. My garden fae are
Okay.
like light. Their energy is very light, very they don't want to be too close either, right? But I know that they're
Mhm.
there. They want to interact, but they don't want to get they don't want to be in the house interactive. They don't want to interact every day. They don't want that. Whereas my brownie is a common feeling consistently in the house. Like
Okay.
down to earth. She feels more at home is the best way I could describe it. That feeling you have when you get home.
Aw,
It
I
kind of
love
feels like that.
that. Aw.
Will's or oh, Jess says, I'm cool with ghosts. The face scare me a bit. I'm working on that though. Ghosts scare the crap out of me, okay? I will work with the Fae any day, but not ghosts. I do not want to work with ghosts. I don't even like working with ghosts of my ancestors. I don't know. No. No.
That's so
No.
interesting.
Uh-uh. Mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. That's one of the things about my practice. That's what I do when during
Mhm.
Samhain and belting and stuff like that is that's my protection that I do. It's so the ghosts leave me alone.
I found what Will said interesting about like how ghosts are like the energy that he feels is like this world and then the other world, right? But for me,
Mhm.
I work with a lot of land spirits, so I'm dealing with this world. You know what I mean?
So you don't get an otherworldly feel at all?
I mean, it depends on the individual experience, right? With my
Mhm.
gnomes, absolutely not. I feel the energy of my land,
Yeah, they are very much a
you know?
earthbound being, yeah.
Yeah. Um, like the genus loci, I do view them as fae, like the different spirits of place. I feel the energy of that place. It's very earthly. But those experiences that I have had, like the ones on my channel that I talked about, those were otherworldly.
Mm.
That was different. Like when the orbs were pouring out of that tree,
Yeah,
that was
that
a
it
whole different.
sounds otherworldly too, you
Oh
know?
my God.
And I
Yeah.
think that's what my first experience, when I asked the Fae to first, say hi or interact with me or whatever, when I actively asked, but I wasn't specific enough.
Mhm.
And they came to me in my dream, they didn't feel like they were a part of this world, like
Mhm.
Will says. They felt different, out of bounds almost.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain that, but like it's definitely a bigger feeling, right? It feels big. It doesn't feel small. It doesn't feel down
Yeah.
to earth. It feels big to me.
Now that I'm remembering, I had a dream about one of like he was like the gnome guardian. Like he was a big gnome.
Oh.
Like he was a big head honcho guy. He felt different. He was on a mushroom smoking out of a pipe. And he was like giving me all this like counseling and he felt different. That was wild.
What
Yeah,
did he
different
feel
different
like?
entities.
Did he feel
Um
this big too, or
he had big energy. Like big but otherworldly. Like he put some fear into me. Like it is so hard to explain that ethereal feeling. Like you ever feel like physical sensations in your dreams?
yeah,
Okay, the best way I can describe this is you were being pulled in all directions at one time.
no thanks.
Yeah, like
No thanks.
it's just like not physically being pulled and yanked, but like
The sensation of, right?
it's so subtle though. It's wild. I encounter that same feeling when I go through vortexes.
Oh.
Yeah. There's this trail that I used to go on near a place called Dead Man's Hollow, and that whole trail was a vortex. Like I had that pulling feeling the whole time. I
So
would lose track of time.
do you think you may have like slipped into a fairy portal realm type area?
I would say it was something because time felt different,
Yeah.
you know,
Was it
um,
slower or faster to you?
slower,
Yeah, see,
much
that's what
slower.
lots of people attribute the Fae time to a much slower time frame.
Hmm.
Will says, I believe there are land spirits of this realm. I believe there are Fae from other realms that mimic our land spirits.
That's interesting.
That that is very interesting idea. I didn't really think about it that way.
Yeah,
But
I didn't
I would
either.
see that they do when they show themselves to us, right? They're often seen in nature as
Hmm.
nature beings, a mimicry of that natural object, but it doesn't look quite right.
Hmm.
So I'm on board with that. I'm on board with that.
Same. Yeah.
Um, Saint Garrison. Hello.
Hi.
Um, I says, I totally get physical sensation in dreams. I didn't know if that was a norm or not. I don't know if it's norm or not either, but I definitely get physical sensations in dreams. I don't like to remember my dreams because of a lot of bad physical sensations. Thanks, but no thanks. Which is exactly what I told the Fae beings who decided to, reach out during my dreams. No, that is a no. Um, That brings me to another question though, Star. Do you ever feel like they come to you in a group thing, like in threes or in singulars, or like how do you feel about that?
You know, mostly it's singular. I haven't had a lot of encounters like in a group of them. Does that make sense? It's usually
It
on an
does.
individual.
It does,
But
yeah.
that tree thing, it felt like
Mhm.
a whole crowd.
Yeah, okay.
That was a whole different. That was a bunch of them. Um, that was the only time where it felt like a lot. How
See, my
about
Fae
you?
outside in my garden, they feels like more than one. It feels like many are there. But in the house, it's only one or two. And I one is consistent and one is not consistent. Um,
Interesting.
And then in my dream, it was 3 of them that were there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was weird. It was very strange.
Thinking back to it, yeah, my gnomes. My gnomes. There's a few that I have like experiences with. So it's not all singular. Usually I'm dealing with one at a time, but that's not always the case.
Do you feel like you get, more of them during times like Samhain
Summer,
and Beltane?
summer.
During the summer?
It's like I don't notice them in the off seasons nearly as much. I think it's like their energy kind of goes dormant.
Oh,
It's like, oh, our work is done. We're moving on, sort of situation.
okay. That's interesting, yeah. I can
Yeah,
understand that. I can understand.
yeah.
My garden fae seem to go dormant during the darker months. And I think it's because it's garden related, the garden goes to sleep.
Hmm.
So I think
Like
they just move on to somewhere else and come back whenever they're ready.
I agree. I do have like little spots for them in my home if they
Mhm.
need somewhere to be, you know what I mean?
And is
Like,
that part of your actual practice too?
oh, we could get into that. Um, so do we want to talk about practice?
Um, we I don't remember what all our topics are here. I gotta look at my list and see
Okay.
where we're standing. Where are we standing?
Like our fairy topics or
Yeah.
fairy practice during Samhain.
Yeah, I think that's where we're at.
I think so.
I think we're on target. Okay,
We
we're
are.
doing
We're
we're
doing
doing
good.
good.
This is great. Um, so Do you want me to go or do you want to go?
So honestly, okay, because we practice different, but we
Hmm.
don't at the same time, which we've kind of learned about each other, right?
Right.
Because you are very witchy side and I'm just spiritual side.
Hmm.
I'm more heavily into the Fae, but you still work with the Fae, right?
Hmm.
So I do know that our experiences will be different and stuff like that, but we do have some of the same things which we learned. But as a witch working with the Fae, what do you specifically do in your practice during this season that is Fae related?
Okay. So, since we were talking about the gnomes, I do like to like refresh their little spaces during I try to do it seasonally, but I pay extra attention during Samhain time because to me it's a time of like it is gratitude for like all that they've done throughout the whole gardening season. All of that's coming to a culmination. It's coming to a close. And I want them to know like that I appreciate their hard work. So I'll refresh their spaces. I'll replenish like different seasonal offerings. I definitely do that on a seasonal basis. We'll get into that later. um, but I like to like clean out their little homes that I do have in the house because they collect dust and they do not like it dirty.
Oh, that makes
So
sense.
I make sure their spaces are clean. If they want like a little reprieve, a little space to come hang out in here, which I don't notice them very often. And if I don't even have plants in the house, it's rare that I like notice their presence at all. And
So
like
do
the
you have
darker
spell
half.
work that you do with the gnomes then?
I firstly I want to say like I light a candle for them on Samhain to like let them know like that they are welcome throughout the darker half of the year. That's like a little lantern ritual that I do with them. Um and then like I leave out a lot of stuff for them. But um spell work with the nerms? I don't know what I was gonna say. um it I start to plan out the spell work for spring to do with the gnomes. I hope that makes sense.
Okay.
So,
So it's like a reset for you to do new spells or to address old
yeah,
spells in new ways or to see if that's what you still want to continue to work with. And that makes sense
right.
because don't a lot of people consider Samhain like the witch's new year? So
Witch's
that
New
makes sense
Year.
that you would do it that way.
Yeah,
But I now have a question about the candle.
yeah.
How did you get involved in doing that?
Intuition.
Oh, so it
And
just happened?
yeah, it's purely I have a lantern ritual that I do to like light their way. You know what I mean?
So nothing specific was like, "Oh, I need to light their way," or anything like that, you just did it?
I got inspiration from lighting a candle, like from folkloric traditions for the souls. You know what
Okay,
I mean? To find their way home, right? You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
how there's a candle in the jack-o'-lantern and or not in the jack-o'-lantern or even in the window. It could be that candle just to invite those spirits, those souls, into their home to guide their way, whatever it might be. And I'm like, you know what? I'm doing that for the gnomes. I just want to have the candle lit and let them know that they're welcome
That's
throughout
really
the
cool.
darker half of the year. This is a safe place if they want like to rest.
That's inspiring. So your little houses
Aw.
are kind of like little resting places for them while they're doing their thing or going in hibernation or whatever they do.
Yeah. I have like little spaces. There's one in my kitchen. There's one at my windowsill, like overlooking like the front garden.
Mhm.
There's one in my witchy room, and I like to light those candles. And often, like I do like to use like real physical beeswax candles, but there's nothing wrong with battery operated ones, not at all. And I don't think they have an issue with it. Like you're saving the environment by
It's
not
just a
like
light, right? If the
yeah,
idea
it's a
is there
light.
that they have a light they can like turn to, like a light to go to.
Yeah. And I like to do that for them mainly during Samhain, but like throughout the darker half of the year, just all throughout as well. Um, just 'cause like it's
So it
dark.
turns into like a once a month thing for you then, or
As needed.
as needed? As needed. That's okay. That's okay.
If that makes sense. Yeah, it's not. I try not because if I pressure myself to do things like, oh, I had to do this the third of the
Yes.
month,
Yeah.
it's gonna feel like an obligation.
Yeah. And you don't want it to feel like an obligation. I get.
No. Yeah.
Will says, for me, doing spell work with Fae energies is extremely powerful during Samhain. I often do work with my ancestors, so working with the Fae is a nice, interesting change. Huh.
Okay.
So, Will, if you would like to share, is there something specific that you do specifically just to Samhain and your Fae work? Like, just out of curiosity. I'm always interested in other people's workings with the Fae because we're a small community, to be
Mhm.
honest. Okay, we are a small community of people who work with the Fae in this way. And I don't come across a lot of people. I mean, some people will have like an altar to the Fae and they might put offerings out, during like Samhain or during Beltane or something like that. Or they might, during Beltane, they might have like a fire for them or something like that. But it's not something that's an active working, right? It's just
Right.
something that's part of that, something that they do to honor them or respect them or however it works for them. So I don't often get to interact with a lot of people who have this kind of interaction like we're talking about, where it's deeper, not
Yeah.
quite so surface level. So I would be really curious to know like how that working goes for you, Will.
Like another thing I do, and I wish I burn my old ones and I make new ones every Samhain, but last year was a whole thing. Like I do a cross of rowan twigs, rowan branches,
Okay.
and you bind that with red thread. Oh, well, um real quick. And so this is a charm to put like in your thresholds in your liminal spaces, and it wards off negative, like I don't want to say negative, but like the naughty fae, the ones that might
Not
mean
me there.
harm. And it keeps the good ones around from my experiences, and you could carry it as a personal charm to help aid in giving you fairy sight. And you could even carve it with the ogham, which I do, of Rowan, and that will help enhance it even further.
So when did you start doing that?
Oh, geez, it was 2 years ago. No, 2022.
So yeah, almost 3 years ago then, yeah?
Yeah,
It was 2025.
yeah, 3 years. And
Um, okay, so Will says, with the thinning of the veil, I love to experiment with how magic works with other creatures of other realms, how they charge
right,
crystals or cleanse items or even to consecrate items. Yep. I like learning about other people's practices. I find other people's practices extremely fascinating and
yeah.
sometimes inspiring. And sometimes I'm like, oh, they do what I do. That's so cool.
What do you do, Summer?
What do I do? My my practice is a lot simpler. Like I know that you have a witchy side to yours. And some would say that mine is a witchier kind of thing, that I do spell work, but I don't feel the same way about it.
Hmm.
So I have mainly I do my trooping fairy offerings at my gate for the trooping fae. And that's my big one during Samhain. And it's just to let them know I acknowledge them, but and respectfully, keep going. Here's a little something, if you need to rest, that's cool, but you're going to do it outside my gate. And sometimes I leave like a little like house as a representation of a safe place, right?
Aw.
Um, but for the most part, it's just it's the idea that they can continue moving on. They can rest for a moment and then they move forward. And I
Hmm.
have even last year, I in my grimoire, my fairy grimoire, I did a kind of spell working, like a poem to them specifically, acknowledging them, welcoming them to my land and then, encouraging them to move along their way in a friendly manner.
Aw, I love that.
So I do that. For my other fae, like my garden fae, I don't really do anything because they kind of go into hibernation. They kind of
Mhm.
just stop interacting. Um, and then they come back again when, spring starts to come around and the snow kind of stops. Sometimes it's before the snow, but oftentimes they wait for the snow to stop. Um, and then like my indoor ones, I don't do a whole lot for them. I do offerings of stuff on my altar regularly. I switch out my altar for the season because
Mhm.
that's a big thing because I'm changing my altar to address, Samhain specifically, but also I started to work with ancestors. And so my altar work has both ancestors and fairy stuff on it
I love
and
that.
kind of mixed together. Um, and mainly I just burn bay leaves for them, as hopes or wishes for them to have a good season, basically.
Aw, I love
And
that.
then the only other thing I really do is something that we both do,
Yes,
which is
ma'am.
our black salt recipes. Now, for my black salt, I don't put it everywhere. Okay, there's not. This is way too much land out here. I can't go around 320 acres and put black salt around 320 acres.
That'd be a lot.
That's a lot. But I do it. I put it all my thresholds. So both gate openings will be black salt, which is also one of the things like I don't encourage the trooping fae in because I put the black salt out and it's a barrier.
Mhm.
And I feel like the fae do respect barriers. Uh, Whether they mean you harm or not, they respect barriers. They would have to get in before they could actually do harm, right?
Mhm.
So I do that for my door thresholds too. Not so much my windows, but definitely my doors, all of my doors. And sometimes I'll leave black salt a little bit on my fairy altar, my fairy altar too. Not as a you can't be here, but because I started working with ancestor stuff, that I don't want anything to come through that isn't specifically my mother or my aunt. So there's like a really specific thing to that. So I don't do it to everything.
Mhm. It's a good boundary setter,
Yeah, pretty
you
much
know.
that's what I use it for, and I do it twice a year. I do it during Samhain, I do it during Beltane.
Do you want to share what you put in it,
I
or?
will, hold on just a sec. Debbie says, "I have a small house, I sprinkle it all around." I technically have a small house too. So what do I put in my black salt? I know that there's a lot of recipes out there, and when I first started, I did use other people's recipes because I didn't know how to do it, right?
Mhm.
And I was just learning. And you're talking like 4 or 5 years ago, right? 6 years ago. Yeah, 6 years ago. Wow. Oh my gosh. It's been 6 years. Uh, but I've learned over time that there's a lot of things I don't wanna put in my black salt, like salt.
Mm. Mhm.
I don't use salt because it is not super great for the land. Um, so if I'm not willing to put it on my plants, I'm not willing to put it on the land that I'm gonna put it on. If I'm not gonna put it in my indoor plants, I'm not gonna put it on that. It's I just can't do it. I can't
Yeah.
do it. Not unless I'm trying to get rid of something very specific, you know what I mean? Like, there is
Right.
specific reasons to use salt, I understand it, but dirt for black salt, putting it everywhere, all the places that I put it, no, no, I do not wanna do that. I don't wish to cause harm, I wish to keep harm away. By
Mm.
causing harm, I'm kind of inviting it, no thanks. So, mine is eggshells instead. I crush eggshells that my hens lay and that we use. So I like a bag of eggshells, and then I just put it in like a powder form.
Mhm.
And then we burn our own wood out here. A lot of it is reclaimed wood, and wood we get off the mountain, stuff like that. So it's kind of a mixture of everything. So sometimes there's like other things inside the wood, like rusted nails and that kind of thing. So I'll use the ash from that with the eggshells. And I do use charcoal if I can, or activated charcoal or something like that to give it the darker look about it. And then I use herbs, and each time it's a little bit different. I don't always use the exact same herbs. I kind of just do whatever I'm feeling like at the time. I kind
Mhm.
of intuitively do it, but often it's like lavender, rosemary, and bay leaves is usually what it ends up being. And sometimes I get these little tiny bottles of crystals. We have a geological museum here, and they give you little crystal bottles for $1, and they've got
Ah,
chips of crystals in them. So I've got some of those, and I sometimes sprinkle that inside my black salt container. I actually have my container right here. I have to refill it still. Like I'm getting ready to refill it, but this is the container that I use. Like it's not very big even.
okay.
So that's what I normally use. It's just that, and I fill it up and then I use it.
I
What
love that.
about what about you?
So, my black salt is not salt either for the same reason. I don't want to harm the land. I have like as a witch, I feel part of my responsibility is being a steward of the land and being very
Hmm.
conscious about my impact on it.
Yes.
So instead, I use something that's very eco-friendly. The base of my black salt is actually black aquarium sand.
Oh,
It's all dyed. It's not dyed. It's all natural. It's all
yeah.
good.
You would put it in an aquarium, so it has to be
Yeah,
safe for the fish.
it has to be safe for, animals. Yeah.
Oh,
Because
that's clever. I like
reptiles
that.
could use it too.
Yeah.
So it's animal safe, it's land safe. So that's the base. That's where I get the blackness from. Um, and then I'll use ashes from either workings or incense that have had a positive intent.
Okay.
So, you know, not only am I layering in protection, but surrounding my space with positive energy. And I do like to experiment with different herbs. I want to find the one that works the best or the one
Okay.
for the best like season. If that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah, I like to use different things and every month it's something different. I pick something out of my apothecary intuitively. Let's use it. Let's see how this goes. This month I'm not using an herb. I
Okay.
am
So,
using iron powder.
oh, iron powder.
Powdered iron.
Interesting.
Mhm.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So
I didn't even know that existed.
it is a thing.
Huh, I'll have to
It's
look that up.
messy, but it's a thing.
We have some comments going on here.
Oh boy.
Debbie says, my recipe is simple. Epsom salt, charcoal, cascaria. Am I saying that?
Cascadia.
And dragon's blood resin. Lots and lots of ash.
Mhm.
And that's a recipe I don't think I've seen a lot of. Like charcoal, yes. Epsom salt, yes. I've seen that. But like the cascaria and dragon's blood resin, I haven't really heard a lot of that.
Cascadia is eggshell powder.
Oh, is that what that is? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Will says a common Wiccan spell for protecting your property, if it is large, is to make a tabletop representation, a tiny version, and then you can sprinkle salt around to symbolize doing it to the actual. Oh, that's
That's
clever.
cool. I like
That's
that.
really cool.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I like that a
Heather
lot.
says Epsom salt is safe and good for plants. That's good
In
to know.
moderation. Definitely in moderation. Yeah.
And Jess says, I use my ashes from when I garden. I use salt, but I don't put it outside. Eggshells powder is cascara. Yes. Okay.
And the eggshell has nitrogen in it, so it's
Yeah.
actually good for your plants.
Yep.
Yeah. So it'll feed your plants. Yeah. And like the more meaning those eggshells have for you, like summer, how you mentioned they come from your chickens, that's
Mhm.
correlated to your land,
Yeah.
so it
Yep.
has even more meaning. But yeah, dragon's blood, that's a great thing to put. Oh my gosh, that has an oomph to it. Nice fiery kick. But yeah,
Oh,
that's
it's called,
fun.
Debbie said that's a great idea, Will. Sympathetic magic. Is that what that is? Where you do it the way Will said is sympathetic magic?
Yes,
Um,
that is.
Interesting.
Um,
I would have never thought to do that. I don't do a lot of magic necessarily stuff, but I would have never thought to do that.
you can get like even a model of your car and surround your car with that,
Oh,
um, like a little,
that's cool. I
yeah.
never would have thought of that. Never. Not ever.
That's brilliant.
That's really neat.
Brilliant. I love that.
Mm,
We're coming up to like it's been over an hour
it
now.
has been, and my ankle is telling me all about it.
I think it's time to bring the ferry crossing to a close. So it was such a blast to talk Faye with you. I really enjoyed it, and like y'all in the comments are great. It was a wonderful conversation. Thank you
It
for
really
chiming
was.
in.
I really appreciate you guys, just bringing new ideas and stuff like that to this because I love hearing about other people's experiences and the way they
Yeah,
do things. And next month will be on my channel and we will be talking offerings.
it's a very appropriate. Thanksgiving.
Yes,
You have
particularly for
gratitude.
Thanksgiving. We are actually only going to be doing one video a month for the time being, just because of holidays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Debbie, I don't know if you'll better summer. I will. I'm working on it. My husband has been a very great help to me getting better.
But thank you all for coming out. It was a pleasure. It's always a blast talking Faye with you guys. So, any closing words?
I hope you all have a very great day.
Happy Samhain. Stay wild and whimsical. Bye.